So you've been asked to lead a strategic planning workshop, and that's a lot of responsibility, especially if it's your first. So what should be on the agenda? What is the process you should follow? There are all sorts of formats and formulas out there, and many of them are a massive waste of time. So it's important to ensure that you're getting it right. Well, today on the show, we're going to give you our 30 years of experience of running workshops just like this, and we're going to give you the specific steps that we use to build a successful strategic planning workshop, and they're the same processes that you can use when you're building a successful consulting business.
I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
Hi, my name is Russell Pearson, and welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast, episode 150. Today on the show, we're going to give you a skill that you'll be able to use in your consulting career, whether you're working as an employee or whether you're creating a consulting business. And that is the skill of running a successful strategic planning workshop. Now, there are all sorts of formats and formulas out there, and we've got basically a practical approach to it where we've discarded a lot of the things that have been best practice over the years that really, in most scenarios, end up being a massive waste of time. So I'm going to show you how to do a process that will enable you to do a strategic workshop in one session rather than having to actually play it out over weeks and months. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat to that. If you're working on a strategic plan for a huge organization and you're going to need information from different stakeholders, you may need to play out the format that I'm going to give you over those weeks and months to ensure that you get the data that you need. But this is a good setup for putting the leadership all in one room and helping them get to a plan at the end of the day. Now, before we get stuck into the detail, I want to talk about strategic planning. Strategic planning, two separate words. We have strategy and we have planning, and they are both separate things. And so that means that your workshop is going to have to be broken up into two separate parts. We're going to work on the strategy first, and then we're going to do the planning. We can't do the planning before we know what the strategy is. And there are some key decisions that are going to have to be made around the strategy before we can get into the who, how, and what of the execution. So let's start with the strategy, and then we'll move to the plan. We'll do this in two steps. So let's first talk about strategy. What is it? What is strategy? Well, in its simplest terms, it's going from here to there. And it's your job in facilitating the workshop to help them decide how they're going to go from here to there, which means there are a couple of components that we're going to need to know. Number one is, where is here? And where is there? And what are the different paths that we can take? And finally, making a decision on which path to choose. Now, there are 5 things that we do to help that decision get made. And the first one is the outcome. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about welcoming people to the workshop. There's going to be building rapport, maybe there's an icebreaker, maybe there's some introductions to make. I'm going to be talking today about the specific steps that you're going to go through to achieve a strategic plan. Now, the first thing I want to know after a welcome's been done is what is the specific outcome that we want to achieve. I want to start with the end in mind. Now, usually when I'm working with an organization, they have a rough goal that they want to achieve, but it's rarely specific enough. And often when I'm speaking to business owners, it's I want to grow my business. And that is not tangible. I don't have anything specific I can work with there. Number one is grow by how much? Also, what is growth? Are we talking about the size of the team? Are we talking about the physical footprint of the organization? Are we talking about the income growth? Are we talking about the profit growth? What does growth look like, and helping the team to decide what the outcome specifically is the first step that we need to take. Now, you might want to do this prior to actually running the workshop itself, and you might have a pre-workshop where we define what is the outcome. But even when you are there on the day, you want to redefine what the specific outcome is so that you can bring everyone's mind to the task, which is we want to go from here to there. So outcome is number one. The second one is to understand why they want that outcome. If you're not clear on why, then I would actually ask that question. In fact, the entire strategic area is all about why. Why are we doing this thing? Why are we here today? What is the value of achieving this outcome? Why are we spending all the time and effort and planning to make it happen? Now, interestingly, if you're working with a founder-led organization, a lot of that thinking hasn't been done. And I come from a space where we did digital marketing, and in the old days, we would do a lot of workshops, and we would do a lot of workshops on web design. And interestingly, when someone said, I want a website built, and I would then ask them why, they didn't know what the answer is. So again, understanding why prior to the workshop event is a useful act to take. Because if you get into a workshop situation and you don't know specifically why they want the outcome in the first place, you might end up blowing up the workshop, and it could actually be very useful for the client to go, actually, this isn't something we should be focusing on right now. But ideally, you don't want to blow up the workshop. You want to successfully lead the workshop. So not only is it a good idea to understand what the outcome is before you enter the workshop, but also to understand the reasons why they're doing it, because you can bring them to bear throughout the day so that people are understanding the value that they're actually putting into this day, and they are going to be more engaged. So even if you know what those outcomes are and you know why you're doing them, repeating that back and getting the team to actually share their different views on the specific whys in the workshop is a really good piece for you to do so that everyone understands the reasons why they're in the room. Another good reason to ask the why question is because there might be other options or other outcomes they hadn't even considered for achieving the why of them doing it in the first place. So again, back to the website example, well, they want the website to actually attract more people to their business. But in understanding what a website is, which is just a location, they're understanding it's not actually attracting anyone, it's the conversion tool. And so what other activities, what other outcomes could we be focusing on to attract more people into a business? Well, with the specific outcome that you're looking to achieve, understanding the why above that will help us define, is there potentially better options that we should be taking so that we can define a better where. Now that we know where we're going, let's talk about where we are. So that's not just about the organization you're working with or the individual you're working with. It's also about what resources are we working with, and contextually right now, what's going on around us. So what does the market look like? What does the environment look like? Where are we starting from? And so traditionally, a lot of people have used a SWOT analysis, a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis of where people are. But often we are repeating stuff that the organization has done before. Now, if they haven't done a SWOT analysis in a while, it can be a useful step to do. I find when it comes to a organization that's founder-led, usually the biggest threat to the organization is death of a key person, death or trauma. So I don't tend to do a SWOT analysis, but I do look at all the different things that are going on around the business, what the business currently is, and what resources it has, so we can decide what is the springboard point to move in the direction of where we want to be. Now, there might be some data that you need or some information that the organization needs to get before they can actually come prepared to the workshop. So again, the pre-work that you put into all these steps is going to pay dividends when you're there in the room. And so asking people to bring the details that they've got about numbers in the business, understanding what are the specific market trends or what's going on around them at the moment, all that data is going to be useful when you're there in the workshop. So we have a here and we have a there. And sometimes it's really good to actually create a visual for that, where you'll put a circle and say, this is where we are, and you'll put another circle and this is where we're going. And that can often help people on a whiteboard or something similar to understand that there is a gap between these two places, and our next step is to fill in the gap. So let me show you what that might look like. Let's say that we've got a visual where we've got a here step, so here, and you can see that I've made that in red, actually on purpose, because I want to see that that's the negative place, that's where we want to go away from, and we want to go to this positive place, which is there. And again, I've changed the color of that, made it a more positive color. We can now see a gap between these two places, and you can see that I've actually started down low on one and I've actually gone high. So this is the low point, now is the high point. We're going from here to there. And really what our next step is to decide is what is the path to get from here to there. And I like to make sure that we've got options, because I want the people that I'm working with to choose, because when they choose, they have ownership of their decision. And so to choose, we need to have multiple options. So rather than you as an expert just give them one path, we want to discuss what are the other avenues to get from here to there. So there's path number 1, there's path number 2, maybe there's path number 3, 4, 5, etc. It just keeps going on. but we want to identify and actually facilitate a conversation about what are the various options that we could use to achieve this outcome. In fact, that really is where strategy lies. It's not just about here to there. It's about what strategic path should we use to get there. So selecting the path is the massive part of strategy. Now that we have options, it's our job to facilitate a decision. Now, decide comes from the Latin side to kill off, right? So we're going to kill off some of these options. Now, you as the leader of the facilitation is going to ask a series of questions that are going to help the client decide, aka cut off some of these options so that they are left with the best option available. Now that we have that option, we can go, yes, this is the option we're going to take. This is the strategic path that we're going to select. And from there, we can now do our planning. By the way, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you get notified when the next episode is available, and go back and have a look at the already 149 other episodes of the show. So now that we've got our strategy, we need to create our plan. What is the specific next steps to get to our outcome? Now, traditionally, a lot of people will use SMART goals to define these steps. I don't recommend that, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But for those who don't know, a SMART goal is a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based goal. So really, it's just a specific description of what is the step that you're going to take. Now, the reason I don't like a SMART goal is because of its specificity. Now, I want specificity in the outcome, but the specificity of the step means that people will neglect management because they think, well, I've made the SMART goal, I'm done. And so an example of a SMART goal could be, I'm going to increase my sales revenue by 20% within the next 90 days. And then they'll say, all right, well, that's done because that's what we're going to create. But they won't get into what are the single little steps on the way through there, the milestones. And so I suggest that we look at milestoning when we're actually doing planning. Now, with SMART goals, let's say it was that 3-month period of time, the 90 days, which is 13 weeks. What I've seen people do is they go, all right, SMART goal made. I've now got time. I've got 13 weeks. That's so much time. And they'll let like 6 or even 7 weeks go by and they go, oh, quick, we've got to get that SMART goal done. And then they're rushing to get it done. They don't achieve it because they've only got a limited amount of time, not the 13 weeks, now 6 or 7 weeks. And when they don't achieve it, they go, well, what are we going to do now? Well, let's make another SMART goal for another 90 days. And it's this cycle that I see happen time and time and time again. So I would rather, in the planning process, get specific milestones in place, but leave it open enough that you have to manage it. So we focus on what is the first milestone, and then what are the specific activities to make that happen. So let me show you on this whiteboard how you can actually plan it out. So what we're going to use is a simple line. We've got our where we are, where we want to be, and we've got a line to get there. So again, similar to what we actually designed on the strategy. Now we want to map out what are the specific milestones to get from here to there. Now I don't have a time base on this because I want us to be able to actually achieve these outcomes faster if possible. And so this is just a little flag at the top here that say this is what the outcome looks like. And that is specific. But all we need to know really is what is the specificity of the first step, right? We've got all these milestones, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatever it might be, all the way through to the outcome. That's our best guess. And things change. You know, people leave the team, situations and context change, which means that our plan may need to change on the way to the outcome. And so we create these milestones as a best guess, but they're not specific. The first step is, and within the first step, we need to create the who, the where, the what, and the how. We've already got the why. We've already got that from our strategy. And so we want to know specifically what is that first step. Then we're going to go, all right, where are we going to get that done? And then who is going to do it? And then how are they going to do that step? And if we know those answers, then we can get that step done specifically when we defined it, but as soon as possible. Now, once that step's done, all right, we'll say that it's got a tick. We then move on to step 2. And what you'll find is by working this process and getting specificity on each milestone in turn after one another, you can actually achieve these outcomes so much faster because step 1 might actually take you only half an hour, and you can do that right now today. And so, all right, we're now up to step 2. When are we going to do that? And so instead of creating like a Gantt chart or a process that over time, let's say the next 3 months, we're going to put all these activities in place, you can get these things achieved a lot faster. Now, in a larger organization with more moving parts, you might have to create a plan that is a visual Gantt chart. And if you don't know what a Gantt chart is, go online and look it up. But it shows over time what are the activities and who's specifically going to do them. But if you are in a situation where you can help someone manage their plan, all right, so we've facilitated the management of this workshop. If we can facilitate the management of the plan as well, in other words, mentor them through it or work with them through it, then we can be in control of this step. Otherwise, we need to pass the responsibility to someone on their team. Someone on their team needs to be responsible for this. So they take on one step, and then we get that done. We then, what is the what next what, the where, the who, and the how. Then we got that one done. And we move on in that way. So something that we may have planned out could take 3 months can actually be done potentially in 3 days. So that's how I've seen organizations move so much faster. Now, another planning method that you might want to use is sprints. But again, it's reducing the amount of time that we are allowing ourselves to get something done. With this planning method, it is about the ASAP. What is the fastest possible way we can get step 1 done? We get that done. Then we look at step 2. All right, what is the fastest possible way to get that done? And we move on from there. And that way we accelerate our plans, we accelerate our outcomes, and we ensure that the client gets actually what they want. So what I want to see in a strategic planning workshop is a list of milestones on a line in order to get us from here to there. Now, the reality is, if you want to be an effective consultant, if you want to help a client get to their outcome, then you will understand that things change, which means that people will change, situations will change, which means your plan must also change over time. So I recommend that you let the client know that this is an evolving plan. And my recommendation is to set up multiple times in the future where you will check in to help them adapt their plan along the way. Now, not only is that going to make you more effective, but it's going to give you more engagements with the client that'll actually add dollars to your back pocket. So if you want to help them achieve the plan, make sure that they're aware that the plan is not just a concrete block that can't be fixed and changed, that you can actually adapt it as you go, because there are plenty of ineffective consultants who will hand over a written strategic plan and expect in some weird world that it's going to happen exactly the way it's written on the page. And in reality, it just doesn't. Now, if you're a consultant who is building a successful consulting practice, you will understand that those strategic workshops are really the heartbeat of your client relationship, because they are there with you as a mentor and advisor, helping them predict and plan for the future. Because the reality is, when the client runs out of seeing you in their future, you run out of that client. So if you're wanting to build a successful practice, you're going to make those strategic workshops a cornerstone of the work you do in your consulting business. My name's Russell Pearson. This is the Your Consulting Business Podcast, episode 150. Until next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one.